Los Angeles burns again. You would think that after the massive black eye LA got for its major fires recently, the city and state would do everything in its power to return trust in the country's second largest city. Well, nope. Pretty boy Newsom and perhaps the worst mayor in the history of America, Karen Bass, doubled down on stupid. Newsom already was kicked in the face for going to court to try and stop the National Guard from protecting the city of Los Angeles. He lost on that, of course. Unless you're living under a rock, you know the basics. ICE arrested 40 of some of the worst illegals in America in the city of Los Angeles. This included a double murderer and other serious criminals, according to reports. In turn, coordinated gangs attacked the ICE agents and tried to attack federal buildings. The local police were overwhelmed. Trump has sent in the National Guard and now more federal forces. The key aspect is to protect federal buildings. Amazingly, Democrat politicians have opposed both ICE raid of serious criminals and efforts to stop the violent rioting. The American disgraced Maxine Waters even tried to claim that there was no violence. She has turned herself into a caricature of a public figure. Her irrelevancy, Hillary Who, chimed in on this silly claim as well. The damage is extraordinary. Many cars were damaged, including 5 Waymo self-driving cars. The photo ops will help to confirm the decision of over 80% of Americans that illegal immigration has been a costly and damaging endeavor by the Biden-Harris administration. Seeing the protesters burn things, hurt law enforcement officers, and wave Mexican flags is not going to do anything but drive more Americans to the Trump agenda. Remember, some of the activists are associated with communist movements. We've all seen what a success communism is, right? I do not understand why law enforcement members who were in their cars when deadly concrete blocks were thrown through their windshields that they did not use deadly force to protect themselves. Something is really wrong here. Given the chronic lax criminal prosecutions in LA, I call on federal prosecutors to charge those who are citizens with attacks on federal officers or buildings, and those who are not citizens should be deported immediately. One of my favorite reporters these days is Tyler O'Neill at the Daily Signal. He had a great article on the source of the mayhem in Los Angeles. His article identified 3 plotters behind this destructive rioting: the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights Los Angeles, the Party for Socialism and Liberation, and the Service Employees International Union, SEIU. Especially disturbing is that this anti-American operation, Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights, has received millions in government funding from the Biden-Harris administration. Their aim supposedly is to monitor but counter ICE activity. Why would the federal government give money to an organization that opposes the federal government's agencies? The O'Neill article notes that they deny involvement in the LA riots. Government funding has got to stop now. I know that David Huerta, president of the SEIU's California chapter, was arrested for interfering with an ICE vehicle. The interesting thing is that the heads of these unions still act like morons, while rank and file union members have begun to support Trump in record numbers. An argument is made that the unions, especially ones like the SEIU with a lot of low-paid jobs, hope to add illegals to their membership. However, I believe that many sensible union members regard the illegals as taking their jobs and driving down ambient wages. Let's see how this sorts out, folks. Adding to the misery of professional scumballs that are looting stores, including an Adidas and an Apple store in the immediate area of the rioting. I'm not sure how robbing small businesses would in any way help anyone's larger cause. Further, such damage increases already high insurance costs for Californians. And in fact, many insurance companies have been fleeing California, getting tough out there, folks. And they've gotten it by voting for people like Newsom and Bass. In the meantime, I again remind the Dems in my audience of the riots at the Democrat Presidential Convention in Chicago in 1968. I believe that the riots cost Hubert Humphrey the election over an unpopular Richard Nixon. Violence and anti-American chants are not going to win the vote of the majority of Americans. Here's the right way to do it. Texas Governor Abbott did this in advance of protests scheduled for San Antonio. The state of Texas stands ready to deploy all necessary personnel and resources to uphold law and order across our state. Texas National Guard soldiers are on standby in areas where mass demonstrations are planned in case they are needed. Peaceful protests are part of the fabric of our nation, but Texas will not tolerate the lawlessness we have seen in Los Angeles. Anyone engaging in acts of violence or damaging property will be swiftly held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. So, unlike Los Angeles, local authorities are working with state and federal officials to control potential violence. This is how Americans should react. Nobody forget this when the California failures try to run for president in a few years. This is Dr. David D. Schein. Thanks for joining me for this special edition of Saving America. Remember, a new Saving America show is aired on the Brushwood Media Network every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Listen on any of the 16 network stations, Apple or Google mobile app, Apple CarPlay, TuneIn, Smart Speaker, and all smart TVs. Find more information at the brushwoodmedianetwork.com. Please be sure to join us each week. We welcome and love your feedback from our growing audience.